Hello viewers, good afternoon. I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from our home, our paradise in the beautiful British Virgin Islands, Tortola. You're watching 284 Media. As the territory of the Virgin Islands continues to maneuver through the global pandemic that is COVID-19, both government and health officials continue to advocate for as many residents here in the BVI as possible to be administered the Astrazeneca vaccine, which is available to those who wish to receive it, though not at all mandatory. It is essentially the single most important mechanism we have here in the Virgin Islands to help lessen the curb and impact of COVID-19 in our territory. Here at 284 Media, we continue to bring you a range of local health officials to educate and raise awareness on the Astrazeneca vaccine, answering all of your questions. Joining us live is two of our leading health professionals, Dr. Harlan Vanterpool, president of the BVI Medical Association, as well as Dr. Heskith Harlan, who is the medical director at Eureka and Bougainvillea Clinic, and also a member of the BVI Medical Association. We have answers to all the questions that you have as viewers. We're going to be right back after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 Media.
The win.
What are the health
I'm freaking out.
agenda
is about these people.
It's always a pleasure coming to you live and direct from the
What's poppin'? What's really good?
Davis has won it for the Lakers.
Viewers, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Gentlemen, Dr. H and Dr. H, welcome to 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Dr. Vanterpool, Harlan Vanterpool, that is, I'm going to start with you. You are the president of the BVI Medical Association. Of course, our ongoing efforts here in the territory have been steadfast in administering the Astrazeneca vaccine. Let us begin by just sharing from your seat as BVI Medical Association president. What is your take on behalf of the association as it pertains to the taking and administering of the vaccine here in the territory?
Thank you for having us this afternoon, Ron. First of all, I would like to fully endorse the efforts of the BVI medical community and all the volunteers that have been helping to assist with the dissemination of the COVID-19 vaccine, namely the AstraZeneca, which we have available in the territory. As a medical association, we fully endorse all the efforts to become fully vaccinated in our territory, as we see it as very important going forward to ensuring not only the health and well-being of all of us, but also obviously the economic benefit, etc., and the sense of normalcy, which a number of us need to get back to. This pandemic is dragging on, and it's beginning to have lots of ramifications in the long term, including the socioeconomic impacts, etc. So yeah, the sooner that we can get to a point of being able to manage this thing properly and get that assurance, I think it's very important for us as a community to get to that point as soon as possible.
Now, Harlan, from your vantage point again, your seat, has the response been, how has the response been so far throughout the community? Are persons willing? Are they still apprehensive? And if so, what are some of the misconceptions that might be adding to the apprehensiveness of our residents?
Yes, there's been quite a bit of apprehension. A lot of it has been around the negative things that you've heard about the vaccine. And the reality is that negative things are far less than the positive things. However, tends that negative things seem to have an audience much quicker than the positive things. Because even, for example, the rare incidents, I must admit, of the blood clots that have occurred, you've really had less than 10, for example, with the Johnson & Johnson, there have been less than 10 cases of blood clots, whereas you administered over 7 million doses. That's clinically insignificant, really and truly, when you think about it. However, in people's minds, I think it's blown up and it's highlighted so much that we're sort of focusing on that instead of understanding the real and the true positive benefits of the vaccine. And for us in the Virgin Islands who have not seen significant impacts in terms of death and morbidity and mortality in this territory due to COVID-19,
Yes.
the impact is not in your face, so it's diminished, as we would say, somewhat. And not because it's diminished makes it any less dangerous for our community. And so it you know, it's one of those things I think needs some direct attention, because what we're finding is that persons are making their own assumptions. If you're unsure about something, talk to your healthcare provider, come and have a conversation with any healthcare provider in the territory, especially the persons that are associated with the medical association. We're more than willing to come out and have a conversation, give you some knowledge and insight into why it's important and the whole process of the whole vaccine itself. So we're more than happy to do that.
Wonderful. Dr. Heskith, I want to touch on the recently established MOU with local healthcare providers for which your establishment have been administering the vaccine. What has that response been like since the MOU? Has that assisted somewhat in the community relations and moving forward with the vaccine?
Well, the memorandum of understanding signed between some of the local private healthcare providers and the Ministry of Health allows the private healthcare providers to be involved in the administration of the vaccine. Now, there are many people who have not been quite comfortable to go and line up at a vaccine center, at a church or wherever, but they would feel more comfortable going to their local healthcare provider, and which they have been accustomed to going to, and having the vaccine there. And that has been where I found that the response has been to, in my case, at the Eureka Medical Clinic. We have signed a memorandum of understanding where we give the vaccine for free, so we're not charging a penny to persons receiving the vaccine, neither are we being paid by government or anybody else.
NHI, yes.
So this is purely a community service being given by my clinic and my staff and so on. And it does take up quite a bit of effort, because the administrative side of it takes a significant bit of effort. So there are other clinics that, if they haven't already started giving, but I know several have signed the MOU. Even after signing the MOU, it took a little while to start to get everything in place. So more people can now attend their private healthcare providers, get the vaccine at a center that they feel comfortable with. I'm not suggesting that in any way that the vaccine centers set up around the country are unsafe. I personally don't think they're unsafe. As far as I know, they have all the relevant backup tools in case anybody have an allergic reaction, anything like that. Fortunately, we haven't seen any allergic reactions in the BVI as far as I know. And the Astrazeneca vaccine has not been associated much with those immediate hypersensitivity reactions that were seen with Pfizer and Moderna vaccine.
Understood.
So we have not had anybody that needed specific medical care because of the vaccine. So, but yeah.
There has been a number of comparisons, Dr. Heskith, as it pertains to the brand of vaccines. Of course, we here in the BVI have access to the Astrazeneca brand. When you put that into perspective, vaccines on a whole into perspective, would you say that there is a significant difference in what we received? Are we in any way at a disadvantage or better off because of the brand?
Well, I'll tell you something, that most of the countries in the world have not had access perhaps to any vaccine. Maybe I'm incorrect by saying most, but many countries in the world don't have or have not had access to vaccines as yet. And we, through Public Health England, were graciously included in the purchase of this great number of vaccines by the UK, and they made sure that their dependent territories got a supply.
Right.
So we have been supplied with the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is the vaccine that is much easier to handle This is a vaccine that is stored in a regular refrigerator. Although I have a specific vaccine fridge in my office, but a regular refrigerator is adequate to store this vaccine in. And it's easy to handle compared to the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, which require much colder temperatures.
Understood.
And even in the UK and the United States, most of those vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna, are given at big healthcare centers that can handle the requirements, whereas the Johnson & Johnson is given out more readily in districts, hospitals or healthcare centers that can handle the much simpler vaccine. So that's what we have here. With regards to whether or not we are at a disadvantage by receiving the Astrazeneca vaccine, we compare, we say, the Johnson, let's back up Johnson. The AstraZeneca vaccine is perhaps 70-something, 80-something, 90-something% effective, whereas the Pfizer and the Moderna are in the 90-something% effective in preventing what you call symptomatic COVID, where people can tell that they're sick. But the truth is that all of these vaccines, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, have almost 100% effectiveness at preventing severe illness, preventing people from going into hospital as a result of the illness, and preventing deaths. So I think the AstraZeneca vaccine is doing a fantastic job. We have millions and millions, probably close to 100 million doses now have been given out, easily more than that. And the number of problems that we have with it are minuscule in comparison to what we see when people get infected with COVID.
Understood. Gentlemen, in really interacting with many persons throughout the community on a daily basis, getting community feedback, I have been told by many persons, well, if enough people take it, I don't have to take it. Others, all age varieties, have outrightly said no, many of them. We are aware that it is by no means mandatory, but as we seek to really lessen the curve and really lessen the impact of COVID in the BVI, would you say that such sentiments are the best approach? What do you say to those persons, either of you?
Take that one.
Yes. Well, Ron, one of the things that is important to note, I believe that if you do a survey of the persons in the territory that hold a regular 9-to-5 job, most of those persons can be considered a frontline or hospitality or some other form.
I agree.
And the reality is this: once you start to reopen your borders, persons are going to be exposed in a different way than we were a couple of months ago when we were locked down. And once that is the case, I believe that you want to be interacting, persons sort of want to interact with persons that they feel safe, as well as you would rather interact with persons that you feel comfortable as well. And vaccinating both sides, both our hospitality workers and frontline persons, I think becomes extremely important, because it says two things: that we're ready to really seriously open our borders and keep them open indefinitely and not have to shut back down again. And that is going to be critical moving forward, because we all want to get back to that point where we're comfortable without wearing a mask, we interact and do the things that we're used to. And for that to happen safely, you need to be vaccinated as much as possible, wherever possible. I do understand there are persons who have absolute contraindications that would indicate that they may not be able to take the vaccine. That's fine. Once you're led and you're being guided by your healthcare provider in that particular case. But those persons without any contraindications that would prevent them from being vaccinated, I see no reason why you don't take that opportunity. The life that you protect or save might be your own. It might be your cousin, your brother, your friend, it could be as close as that. So I think it's very important to take the stand and take the movement towards doing your part and vaccinating.
Thank you so much. With that in mind, I am so happy that you mentioned the pre-existing conditions. There might be some persons who, because of pre-existing conditions, would be led and advised by their healthcare providers to not take it, and that should be, of course, adhered to. I want to touch a little bit, gentlemen, because you both have taken the vaccine. I have. I'm waiting on my second dose. We've heard a lot about the early next day side effects of the vaccine. Have there been any known long-term side effects that we have not heard of thus far? Dr. Heskith?
With regards to the side effects, some people get absolutely nothing, and people sometimes don't even get soreness in the arm. And that doesn't mean that they are not protected. They seem to be protected just as well as those who get those initial side effects that happen in the first couple of days. So most of the side effects are like a flu, where you get body aches, fever, sometimes a stuffy nose, and typically those symptoms disappear within 24 to 48 hours. In my case, I had aches that lasted a few hours overnight, and that they disappeared without taking any medication on the first dose. On the second dose, apparently, I've been told that sometimes, certainly with all the vaccines, it seems that with the second dose you tend to get a bit more severe reaction, but even there again it goes away within a few days, if so long. With regards to long-term effects, there have been few, if any, long-term side effects that have been specifically linked to these vaccines. And while people are saying, well, they want to wait for a long period of time to see if there are going to be any long-term side effects, typically the side effects of the vaccine are revealed within 30 to 60 days, and we've certainly been gone much longer than 60 days with all of these vaccines now, except the Johnson & Johnson one. And we have not found any significant long-term side effects. In fact, the long-term side effects of COVID are way, 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 way worse. Even people who get mild and almost asymptomatic problems with COVID, infections with COVID, can end up with this thing called the long-haul symptoms of COVID, where it affects your lungs, your brain, your kidneys, and your heart. So the long-term side effects of people who have had COVID and recovered are way more than what you would expect with the side effects of the vaccine.
Now, of course, we have been hearing much about this new variant strain, particularly over in Europe as well. Should we be concerned, Dr. Heskith, that the new vaccine will not withstand other strains that may be introduced to our territory later on?
I think it's just an area of concern. We can't just, because viruses do mutate. Yes. That is, they change their antigen structure and change even their genetic makeup. And so with time, these viruses do change somewhat. As a matter of fact, the longer we allow the COVID pandemic to go on without being vaccinated, we are encouraging new variants of the virus to develop. The more the virus gets a chance to multiply and go from one person to the other, the greater the chance that a new strain can emerge. With regards to these new strains coming into the BVI, we know that the strain that's coming out of the UK is now probably the dominant strain even in the US.
Yes.
The thing, though, that Astrazeneca vaccine is effective at, and the other vaccines are effective at preventing that particular variant. There is another variant that is out, the South African strain, and was also seen in Brazil, and it seems as the AstraZeneca vaccine is less effective in combating that particular strain. But I think that in due course, the vaccine makers will make adjustments to these different strains. It's a simple matter of just adjusting the technology, and probably it may be necessary in future to come out with a booster. I don't know. We don't have specific decisions on that as yet.
Thank you so much for that. Gentlemen, in the final analysis, the taking of the vaccine to many is not only a a duty to protect self and family, but more of a civic duty as we seek to move the territory of the Virgin Islands forward. You both have a keen understanding of the significant economic impact that this has had on our territory. I want you to close by speaking to our viewers on this very important civic duty and responsibility, and leave them with your last bit of encouragement as both members of the Medical Association.
Right, Alan.
Well, Ron, I think it's always very important for members of the medical fraternity to come out and publicly endorse what is happening in terms of vaccinations. Not only because we have a responsibility in the sense that we understand the ramifications and the havoc that it can play on the human body, etc., but also we have a duty to prevent. The Hippocratic Oath helps us and guides us that, to do no harm. Mm-hmm. And it would be harmful for us to sit back and not lend our voices, absolutely, knowing better. So it behooves us to be a part of the discussion and to do our part to ensure that we are all a part and parcel of the solution, which is to become vaccinated as soon as possible to prevent severe COVID-19 cases and concerns in our territory. So again, with all the members of the association, I am happy to do my part, and I will continue to do that as long as I'm here and available.
Yeah.
Dr. Heskith, yes?
Yeah, me too, both as a member of the BVI Medical Association and as a doctor with a practice in the community. I feel very strongly committed to encourage people to do the right thing. Well, I have, in my opinion, done the right thing. I'm here. I'm wearing this sticker to show that I already had the vaccine. I had number 1, the first dose, about 10 weeks ago. I am due to have the second dose this afternoon at Eureka Medical Clinic. So I am committed to doing my part. So I'm encouraging all adults, persons over the age of 18, to try and get themselves immunized. You can get immunity in 2 ways. One, by getting the infection and possibly getting very sick and dying, or you can get the vaccination that builds up antibodies inside your system so that if and when the virus enters your body has a form of protection on the inside. The vaccine may not completely prevent you from testing positive for COVID, for the virus by the tests that we do, or even getting a mild upper respiratory infection. But what the vaccine does is that it builds up the antibodies inside your body so that when the virus enters your system through your nostrils, it has difficulty penetrating and establishing itself in a serious way inside your body and causing you to be sick to the point that you need to be hospitalized or die from it. We can say with great confidence that the vaccine is very, very efficient at protecting you from severe COVID disease. I have seen a number of people in the BVI now whose relatives in the United States or in one of the other Caribbean islands who have had people that died from it.
Yes.
I have persons here who have not been affected hitherto, but suddenly now they have relatives back in India. They have relatives in the United States. They have relatives in the other islands who have died, and all of a sudden they realize, listen, I better go forward and have the vaccine. And I'm afraid that as we open up, we run a risk, and we can't stay closed down forever. The borders of the territory can't stay closed forever. We have to move forward. And there's going to be increased chance of outbreaks happening in the BVI. And you can't suddenly say, oh my goodness, there's a outbreak happening, and you run and go and get the vaccine. Remember, the vaccine takes a while to build up antibodies in your system to protect you. So you're not protected for at least 2 to 4 weeks after you've had the shot. So the earlier you have the shot, the better.
Understood.
Please protect yourself.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this afternoon once again. Viewers, that is all the time we have, but that is not all the content. Be sure to follow us on our daily updates, of course, at 284media.com, and like us on Facebook and 284media on Instagram and Twitter. Of course, join me and my colleague Joanne Wilson at 6 p.m. Tonight for our daily wrap-up of our news, both locally, regionally, and internationally. Some of the headlines we're looking at today, of course, locally, BVI-CCHA are requesting a meeting with the police chief and chairman of Crime Stoppers, as well as a national sustainable development plan in the works to guide the BVI's development. All this and so much more. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.